Kelly Keefe. I have been a writer and passionate about books my whole life. I am also a transformational life coach and Reiki master teacher, really supporting many people in their spiritual journey and authentic creativity. And so, for this novel to be reaching major bookstores in September, really is a story of a woman beginning to remember her power and more than what meets the eye. It's a really exciting chapter in my personal journey, and know some people who've gotten to do reviews and read it ahead of time have found a lot of support and healing and empowerment through it, while also getting captivated by the story. So it's really exciting.
Miss Kelly Keefe, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. Let's talk about the themes and inspiration of She. What inspired you to write She, and how did the concept originate?
Yeah. And Daniel, this has actually been a almost 10-year journey of when I wrote it to this now reaching the masses in the world. I first wrote She when I, very much so like the main character in the story, decided to embark on a new life chapter of moving to New York City. And so I'd been in New York for about probably 3 months at this time. And then I did a program that writers from around the world commit to writing a novel, 50,000 words within a month. And I found it was such a great way to meet like minded people, to get a part of a community, and to also begin to process my own life experience in some ways. And so, over the course of a month, November 2016, I wrote the first draft of this. So, as you read it, some is 100% fiction, fabricated, and the story really wrote me as I was going through. I like to say I didn't write it, it wrote me. But you can also play in there of the curiosity of which part of these came from the author's direct experience and which parts of this are fiction for sure.
So, Miss Kelly, can you discuss the central themes of the book and what you hope readers take away from them?
Absolutely. Some core central themes of this book are empowerment, new beginnings, life transitions, and spirituality. The premise of the story is the main character. She goes through an unexpected breakup, and I'm sure no one in this world's ever experienced that or gone through a breakup before. And she just needs to start a new life chapter. And so, with the throw of a dart, she finds her way to New York City to begin a new journey. And it's the tale of her navigating the heartbreak and new beginnings, and being able to find herself in the starts of a new chapter, and gravitating towards different aspects of yoga, meditation, art, and these different things that begin to stir a new sensation and a level of experiences within her to bring her towards the beginning of a spiritual awakening. My hope is that everyone, it's always a simple prayer, that any reader gets exactly what it is that they need from the book. My hope is that there is a level of seeing themselves in the character, so they're able to remember other new levels of their own empowerment or stirrings of connecting deeper into their intuition and their spiritual nature, while also just getting lost in a really fun, good story.
Interesting indeed, Miss Kelly. How does the title She encapsulate the essence of the story?
Yeah, I think that is a perfect way to say it. She is the essence of the book. Um, the two incredible women who did the cover art, they are very dear friends, students, clients of mine as well. So we work very closely together. They did an amazing job of being able to encapsulate what the essence of the book is. And there is that piece of she is the feminine energy and the essence of creation and new beginnings and tap into the unknown. So she gives a story of, it's a woman's story as well as the divine feminine essence that is all about this journey of empowerment and remembering.
Miss Kelly, let's talk about the character development of she. Can you describe the protagonist's journey and how she evolves throughout the story without spoilers?
Yeah, of course. That's something I really appreciate. There's different reviewers out there reading it, and it's really fun to get to see them reflecting back to me of their experience of the protagonist in the story at large, and how they can't put the book down as they're reading it. It's something that I'm enjoying seeing other people appreciating, even outside of me as the author, is that the protagonist, it's an extremely grounded, relatable journey of the protagonist going through the journey of letting go something old and starting to step into so much newness. A new city, new roommates, new experiences in dating and different outlets of so much newness. And such as for any of us in life, when we have a new experience, it begins to shape us, grow us, and change us. And so the main character, she's really going through this process of throughout the whole book staying really vulnerable and real and open and curious. And as a result, she begins to have a lot of really unexpected experiences that we get to grow alongside of her for sure.
Interesting character, Miss Kelly. What challenges did you face in developing complex female characters?
You know, again, I think, and this is something that I love as a writer, that it's always been something as a child. I wrote my first chapter book in third grade. It's something that just moves through me. It's a part of, I believe a gift that was touched on me to bring into this world. And I support others in writing their books. And something that I share with them as well and help move through a process of shifting the mindset and the energetic state is to not show up and say, I'm going to write a book, but I'm going to allow this book to write me. And in that, there was times as I was air quote writing this book, and I'm sitting there and I'm the stories flowing out of my fingers, and I would be like, oh, who's that character? Oh, what's happening? And so it's almost like I was learning the story right alongside the time that it was being written. So in many ways, this character, she presented herself. uh, Going through, there's the main character, and then amazing, I love Zay is one of her roommates and also another main character who is an artist and just the embodiment of a powerful, creative, badass woman. And like to watch of like, ooh, yeah, and taking inspiration from other incredible badass women that I know in my world, and being able to see the pieces of what do I want to see or who do I want to become. Mind you, I wrote this 10 years ago. So it's also being able to see, it's so funny who I am today, looking at the characters and being able to see where I was like, oh, I think there's a part of pulling on the aspects of who I wanted to grow into to be a powerful, empowered woman as well.
Miss Kelly Keefe, thank you so much for empowering women all over the world. And how do the relationship in the book reflect real world dynamics?
Oh, they're very real in this book. That's something that I really love when I wrote this in 2016. I finally decided that I was like, I know that this is a great story and I know it has potential to really touch people's lives, in so many different ways. And so in 2020, I finally started to reach out to publishers and I got picked up in 2021. And to be able to go through this journey of it arriving here now, looking at the relatability of so much of real world dynamics that were present then to now, going back and reading the book when it was picked up, to now rereading it again when I was able to finally hold the physical book in my hand, which actually, let me I should have had this with me to be able to actually hold
Yes.
the physical book in my hands, and rereading it. It's so real of the human aspects and conversations of finding our own little quirks and her balancing feeling so much trust and going into the chapter to then all of a sudden being ridden with anxiety and someone helping her get out of it, or going on dates and it going wrong, or falling in love and the unexpected breakups. There's so much just realness in it, because for me it's important that it's fun to get lost in a story, always for me as a reader. And I love when it can be something where it's like, I can really see myself in that. This is relatable. And so it is a very relatable book of, in all aspects, different challenges of life that we come across, from worrying about work and money to relationships to life transitions, the whole thing.
Miss Kelly, let's talk about the writing process of She. What was your writing process like for She, and how long did it take to complete?
Yeah, she came out fast. The first draft was completed in a month. So, November 2016, I made a commitment to writing 50,000 words in a month. And so, really went through the process of, and it was held by an amazing group, which I've adapted a lot of that into the writing program I now lead, supporting people in getting their first draft of a book out there. But being able to go and do like writing sprint, it was, the focus was just get the words on the page. And what I found is that since I was committed, and they make a joke that the hardest thing for writers to do is sit down and write. And so when I was really consistently showing up, sitting down and writing, the story began to flow through me. And it became much less about, okay, today when I sit down to write, what am I going to write about? It much more started to be, oh, okay, so this is what's happening in the story. Let me get it out of my head and heart that I can see in the imagination, like a movie screen. Let me get it out. And then again, there's parts of it that I was out in my own day to day life and had an experience, and I would walk away from it going, oh, yeah, that's going to be in the book later. Okay, we're going to spin that. We're going to start to weave that into the book. And so it was a month writing the first draft. And then I had an amazing mentor who gave guidance to let it sit for a year. Pretend you didn't even pretend you wrote it. Pretend like you never even wrote it, and let it sit for a year. And then with fresh eyes, becoming a completely different version of yourself every year. It was then that I returned back to it, and I began to do some editing and refinements, and then really beginning to tease it out. And then we moved on from then.
Were there any scenes that were particularly challenging or emotionally to write?
Writing a book is so transformational. Yeah, it can hit home on some things. I think there was a part of my pause, and really after editing to bringing it to publishers, there's a couple different aspects in the book that I was like, ooh, it's been changed a lot. So it's not directly what I'm using off of my own life from. Whereas, like, but will the people who I'm writing, like using my own inspiration, know? And is it going to hit home? Are they going to feel like I'm putting a little too much out there? And so bringing those pieces and processing my own challenges in life and spinning it in a way that turned it into art. Yeah, there's a lot of times that a lot of deep emotions could come up, and to be able to be going through my own process of starting my own new chapter in New York while writing a story about a woman, beginning her new chapter in New York. It definitely brings stuff up. But that's one of the things I love about the writing process, is how much it grows you and transforms you.
Miss Kelly, what would be your short term and long term goals in writing?
Oh man. Well, this is the first of three. So this is a trilogy series. So, the long term goal is for this one to find the right hands and hearts, and for people to continue to grow their journey with her through the other two books as well. And for this to really be the first of many that are in the major bookstores globally. I do have three other nonfiction books that I've written that are in editing process, more in the transformational coaching space, and then many novels that are, flowing through. So the long-term goal is to really continue to have a collection of books in the fiction and nonfiction world that people can get their hands on and transform their hearts.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Kelly, and looking for more and more and more empowering woman books to come. And what will be your advice for those people out there who want to write their own novels or books, memoirs, or whatever they want to write?
Yeah, our books, I don't think we really understand the power they have to transform us and also support others in their own journey. For those who are interested in, they know there's a book inside of them, but they don't know where to begin with it, I do have a free 5-day journey called The Writer Within, where you receive a daily email with a video and somatic practices to keep you embodied and writing prompts that can really support to create that clarity and a momentum of writing. So, Daniel, I'd love to share that with you. Maybe we can put in the show notes and the different links. So, if there's
Yes.
anybody who is feeling that they want to, but they don't know where to begin, the best way is to show up and write. And I've created a really low investment, low risk way to begin to show up into that process, because if you feel you have a book inside of you, it's because it's meant to be shared with the world.
Yes. Share to the world, people, and stop procrastinating. If you have the passion to write, write, and tell to the world. And Miss Kelly, let's talk about the literary context and impact of she. How does she fit within the broader landscape of literature addressing similar themes?
Yeah, we had a reviewer use the reflection that she is like the mix of Eat, Pray, Love meets The Alchemist, which to me, my heart exploded when, being able to say, wow, like that's the reflection that you had in it, where we're in such a time in society where we're starting to see more of the exclusive, you know, the like inclusive, excuse me, inclusive themes, and being able to see that spirituality is really, people are starting to really question, who am I? What am I here for? What's bigger than me? Travel is bigger than ever. So it's really a reflection of so much of the growth of society and the collective energy that's at play. And it's kind of a juxtaposition of the self-help transformational work meets the spiritual literature and more of that women empowerment. It's kind of that sweet spot all in between.
Indeed, Miss Kelly, have there been any surprising interpretations or feedback from your audience?
Not yet. It's funny where I think the most surprising, but it's more of just a, a mishap that became actually a blessing. The amazing woman Megan Fitzgerald, who did the fine art piece on the cover. So this is fine art that was done on canvas, and then we did a digital overlay with the graphic design. She was like, I need to read the book so I can have inspiration. And so thank you so much for pulling that up. And so she read through the story, and then I sent this to her. She's like, okay, I need a copy. I need to figure out how it ends. You left me on an amazing cliffhanger when an insert thing here. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, no, I didn't get the full story. So she wasn't sent the last few chapters. And so I think the biggest reflection is just, she's like, she's like, it's fine because I'm excited. I can't wait. But like, there's such a cliffhanger. I couldn't put the book down. I finished the book in 3 days because I couldn't stop reading it. I was, captivated by the story. I couldn't put it down. I think the biggest surprise is that she's been living on a cliffhanger and leaving it alone. And she's like, no, I will just, it's worth waiting for. It's worth waiting for. It's still very, again, we're in pre sale right now. So the reviewers are really beginning the process. We have people who are reserving their copy on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Waterstone, anywhere that books can be found and sold on major bookstores. And all of the reviews coming in, it's just emotional for me, Daniel. Honestly, they're great reviews, and it's to hear people's own experience with it and to see the light that it's bringing people and being reflected back. Um, I'm an emotional person in general, but there's been a lot of tears of gratitude and excitement and surprise for sure.
Congratulations, Miss Kelly. Hoping she will be a bestseller. And what do you hope she contributes to ongoing conversations in society?
Yeah, I really would love to see. I run a book club here, and I love being able to have deep conversations with other people on our own personal journeys. Being able to find books can bring us so much connection and deep friendship and relationship through exploring the topics of our own relationship to our power, our own relationship to spirituality, or transitions and new beginnings and breakups. What's our relationship, and exploring relationships at large, not just romantic, but within friendships and within co creation. Um, my hope is that it brings people a deeper connection to themselves, to the unseen, and to other people through being able to explore. There's so many different themes and angles you can look at through this book. My hope is that it just continues to cultivate connection.
Connection, connection, people. So, Miss Kelly, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, and its fifth season, people, fifth season, which have Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We are talking about, or we are reading our letter senders all over the world. So please do listen Food 101 wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Kelly, are there plans for a sequel or related projects stemming from She?
Yeah, so this is the first of three. It is a trilogy. So I'd be lying if I said book number two hasn't, come through me a little bit. Her journey has continued. It's just because this book ends, doesn't mean her journey has ended. So absolutely, there will be, her journey will continue. We've just begun.
Yes, Miss Kelly Keefe. We are looking for more and more and more empowering books to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support She?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we're in pre-sale, but that doesn't mean you can't reserve a copy now. You can go to Amazon, you can go to Barnes and Noble, anywhere that you can purchase books, major bookstores, and globally in a book platform, you can find it there. You can reserve a copy. It will be sent out to you at the end of August, early September. It'll hit major bookstores in September. If you want to get involved in the journey with us and let be told we're going to be doing a lot of different in-person events at the bookstores, do some virtual book launch events. You can go to thekellykeefe.com and you can sign up to get involved with us. And again, Daniel, I'll send over my gift to the listeners. If anyone is wanting to embark on their writer's journey and get a little bit closer into my sphere of this creative juice that's flowing and activate within you, I'd really recommend doing the 5-day The Writer Within journey. It really starts to activate things.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Kelly Keefe because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books to come. So, Miss Kelly, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Daniel. I appreciate you.
More to come, people. See you soon. So, Miss Kelly, once the